Pride in Cleveland has been celebrated by the city's LGBTQ community since the early 1970s. The gay community in Cleveland in the 1970s was connected to the larger gay liberation movement growing in the United States, which was propelled by the Stonewall riot in New York City in 1969. Pride celebrations began to occur annually in cities across the US in 1970 to commemorate the gay, lesbian and transgender people who resisted their continued harassment and discrimination by the police at Stonewall. Cleveland's gay community in the 1970s organized itself in order to do the same. After the early years of Pride in Cleveland in the 1970s, sponsored by numerous organizations, gay community members and organizers in Cleveland elected to join the larger Pride celebrations in Columbus, Ohio through the 1980s. This continued until 1989, when Cleveland Pride began organizing annual Pride events in downtown Cleveland.
I mean, it wasn't like one thing, like wasn't a lightning bolt. There was a lot of things going on. With 89, and I'll tell you, I was 29 years old. So, and Cleveland and the world were a very different place. There wasn't anything in Cleveland. There wasn't a cohesive community here. There was a community center, and they actually had a business fair the year before, and it was very well attended. And that's sort of like, oh, people actually are coming out to do that. Cleveland was a place where people didn't come out publicly. There was only a few of us who would actually be on the news or talk about being gay publicly.
In '88, I was getting tired I wanted to do something else. So I was talking to Brian on the phone, and I commented that I was kind of tired of gay. I just wanted to do something else. And he said, well, you can spend the next year planning a Pride celebration for Cleveland. We had never done this sort of thing, so therefore, yeah, we had to do it. And we set a date for a meeting to call out and to get people to come to a meeting at, I think it really was at the center. And you ran an editorial and called some people, and I called a bunch of people, and people showed up. And then eventually we got our committee together, and that's it.
Well, you mentioned that people showed up, and I just got some unofficial numbers. Last year at the 24th Pride, 24,000 people showed up. How many people showed up that first year, 1989?
I think the number that comes to my mind is like 600. I think that's the number, and we were so excited.
The Pride events in Cleveland became more regular in 1989 when Cleveland Pride began organizing annual celebrations. The first event, Lesbian and Gay Pride. 89, an out-of-the-closet experience, took place on a block of West 29th Street, where musical groups and booths selling food, ice cream, shirts, books, and balloons were set up. The AIDS epidemic shaped the event in significant ways as organisers sought to bring the gay community together during a time of significant loss and to promote safer sex.
So we actually partnered with Oberlin College and then some college students to create the Generations Project. And it was a really interesting journey because we really weren't sure how it was going to come out when it was all done, but what ended up getting built was this huge tree that was placed in the center of the actual festival grounds. And the college students walked around the campus and told everybody to write something about something personal for them about Pride or something that led up to their coming out. There was probably over 4,000 leaves of all sorts of different colors on this tree by the time it was done. It took us probably 3 weeks to actually take all of those leaves down and start to document what was said. And I remember there was a group of probably 10 of us young folks and the people who were the directors going through those, all of us around the table in tears. People were saying goodbye to people that they lost, people that died, journeys that they had taken, families that they had lost, been ostracized, people had become something different. And it was probably at that moment when we realized that we really could help with some community work actually affect the community through Pride. It didn't have to just be kind of like an annual party and a recognition.
In 2018, Pride in the CLE and Cleveland Pride united to organise one event managed by the LGBT Community Service Centre of Greater Cleveland. Thousands of people were in attendance for the march into Public Square and the festival that followed. In 2020, Pride events had to be adapted in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and concerns for the health of participants. That year, organisers of Pride in the CLE organised a Pride Ride on September 12th as an alternative to the march in order to allow social distancing. Over 300 members of Cleveland's LGBTQ community decorated their cars and drove through Cleveland's Gordon Square Arts District. Pride in the CLE also organised a virtual Pride event with appearances by artists and community leaders that was streamed by over 8,000 people. In 2021, Pride in the CLE continued with the altered Pride celebrations as the COVID-19 pandemic continued. On June 4th, there was a televised Pride in the CLE event broadcast by WKYC TV. Pride in the CLE made a major in-person return to downtown Cleveland on June 4, 2022, following a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, featuring a march and festival on Malls B and C. The event boasted a larger footprint to accommodate big crowds, celebrating LGBTQ+ resilience and unity with a march, entertainment and a health village. Organisers and participants emphasised the importance of returning to in-person visibility to support LGBTQ+ youth and the broader community. The event is held annually in June to mark Pride Month, often featuring additional, smaller community events like the Pride Ride, which continued even after the main festival returned. So, supporting gay pride events is a multi-layered commitment to human rights, mental health, and community building. Beyond the celebrations, these events serve as critical platforms for social change and safety for the LGBTQ+ community. Seeing pride symbols like the rainbow flag helps LGBTQ+ individuals identify allies and safe spaces where they won't face judgment or violence. Pride events signal that individuals are not alone, which is crucial for those in rural or conservative areas where they may feel invisible or the only one. Pride is a time to remember the pioneers and trailblazers who fought for justice when their very existence was criminalised. By supporting these events, you help ensure that their struggles are not forgotten and that the movement continues to march forward toward full equality.
Oh, I'm making history.